way, and I still don't quite
今
understand
日もよろしくお願いし
I
ま
have
す。
this very strong opinion that when you're young, you feel things on such a intense and detailed level. There's an attention to detail when you are like 17 to 22 years old and you're longing, or you're reaching and grasping but never holding someone's attention or someone's love or someone's dedication, and you're just, you can't understand why. You spend all day thinking about it. You notice everything. You notice candle ash on the cuff of the shirt and the button, and it's everything that makes the mythology of those intense feelings that you have. And I've always tried to, like, without being a completely unhinged adult, keep that level of detail and intensity when it comes to trying to describe a feeling. I started writing songs when I was 12. As soon as my love for singing and picking up an instrument happened, songwriting just spontaneously started becoming the entire cornerstone of my life. I think the first songs that I like fell in love with was the type of songwriting that I think folk and country is really kind of known for. It's like that story time structure. Songs like Harper Valley PTA or Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks, or like, you know, any amazing Kenny Chesney song where, like, you know, a hypothetical structure would be, you know, first verse, little girl, you know, learns a lesson that in the chorus her mom teaches her about, and the little girl grows up and now she's a teenager and she realizes, oh my god, my mom was right about this. Now the second time you hear the hook, that same hook means something a little bit different because she's like grown up in her life. Then the bridge, maybe she goes on in her life, she has a little girl, she imparts that wisdom onto her. And then if you really want to get me to cry, like, bring back that same first line of the song and end the song with it. So that was the first thing that made me think it's got to be country music. That was the first type that I really fell in love with. But then lyricism, I was the most intensely impacted by emo music, right? Dashboard Confessional, Chris Carrabba, Fall Out Boy, Pete Wentz's lyrics, how they take a common phrase and then they just twist the knife of it, right? Like, I'm just a notch in your bedpost, but you're just a line in a song. Drop a heart, break a name, right? Like, it's drop a name, break a heart, but they switched it. And I, like, those are the kind of lyrics where I would read the lyrics to those songs, or the specificity of Hands Down by Dashboard Confessional, where I'd be reading those lyrics and I'd just finish reading a line and just go, oh my god. I got a publishing deal when I was 14. I was signed by a guy named Arthur Winawara.
ちょっと絵の具準備します。
He believed that I had a perspective that mattered, and I actually asked him if he could please hold my songs for me to artists. I was like, just give me some time to try to get a record deal. I try so hard. I could almost compare it to the Brit. They have these offices on Music Row, or at least they had a lot of them then, that were small houses, these like cottages. Basically, you go there, and it'd be 3 songwriters writing in this room, 3 songwriters in this room, 4 in this room, 2 in this room. And I would just go to school, then my mom would drive me downtown 30 minutes, and I would go and I'd have a songwriting session with someone or I really didn't want to come in unprepared, so I walk in with 4 to 5 nearly finished things, 2 half-finished things, 10 hooks, because I just never wanted to be like, yeah, this like little kid that thinks she can swan her way into Music Row and just like write songs with these hit songwriters. But I think one of my favorite things about the Nashville music scene, country music, and the storytelling where it was when I arrived there was almost this tradition of sort of breaking the fourth wall, making the song then a part of the song, or the writing of the song becomes a part of the song. And I did that in the song where, you know, I'm singing about this kind of love lost and hoping that person thinks of me, and then in the bridge it's revealed that I wrote this song and I hope he hears it. The song Our Song, which I still love so much. It's all about this romance and this relationship, and then in the end it says, pen and an old napkin and I wrote down our song. So I love doing that. I still kind of love doing that. The kind of just like, and it was me. My favorite end plot twist, I think, that I've done in songwriting is the ending of The Last Great American Dynasty. That's my favorite one. It is just so much fun to tell this story about this real woman who lived in history and she defied the social norms and she drove people crazy and she had a marvelous time ruining everything. And you talk about the house she lived in on the coast, and basically then in the end you're like, you know, she moved away from Holiday House, it sat quietly on that beach free of women with madness, their men and bad habits, and then it was bought by me. And you're like, every time I get to that part when I would sing it on tour, I just like have to kind of like I wanted my grin to go from here to here, but that looks crazy. So it's like I had to like taper down my own excitement that hook happened. I learned you can't ever really tell if other people are gonna like it, but oftentimes when I love it to a certain degree, that kind of tends to match up with people. And it could be that it doesn't match up with the way people feel till six years later. I loved the Reputation album. I was like, you guys say what you want. I know what I did. I love it. Like, go with God. Sorry. Like, you can come around if you want. It's okay if you don't. And then, you know, 6 or 7 years later, people are like, oh my God, like, ready for it. Like, people slept on that song. Are you ready for it? When we were making that song, I just remember like I wanted to like head bang myself through a wall. I felt that when we wrote Ready for It. I felt that way during writing Getaway Car. I felt that way. I think the first time I felt like I don't care if people hate this because I love it so much was when I wrote the song Love Story. When I was 17, sitting in my bedroom, mad at my parents because they wouldn't let me go on a date with a guy who was too old, so I shouldn't have been on a date with him anyway. And this is why you need to discipline your kids, because they might write songs that go number one. When I wrote Speak Now, I was 18 and 19, and I was coming from this big, massive moment that I had with an album called Fearless, and it had won Album of the Year at the Grammys, and it was the first time there was like this big debate over whether I deserved to be there. There are always going to be like little debates, do you know what I mean? But this was like headline news. I was like, these discussions can lead to a really bad place if I don't do something to counteract them and to prove that no, it wasn't my co-writers that did all this work. And yes, I am the author of this entire body of work that I was very proud of. I had written so many songs alone, and I love collaboration. I love co-writers, but it's not something that I needed. It's when I started to trust myself as an editor, because a lot of what I'll do in a session, even now, and one of the reasons why Liz Rose and Jack Antonoff became like people that I loved to write with for albums and albums, is because I'll have this stream of consciousness pouring out, and Liz would sit there with a notepad. But when you take that away, I just started, you know, recording everything, right? Recording everything on a voice memo, because there will be times when I'm like kind of in a zone and I'm writing so fast that there's no chance I'm going to remember what that melody was that I did, you know, 2 minutes ago that I thought was cool for the verse. That was a really important album for me in terms of of becoming a writer that knew I could trust my own intuition. I have little phonetic things. I love alliterations. I love, you know, two words that start with the same letter. Love that. I don't like to have a word end with the same letter that the next word starts with. For example, in the song Our Song, it was supposed to be when you're on the phone and you talk real low. But I was like, I don't like the real low. So it's turned into when you talk real slow. Certain words just like fly for me. And I think one of the reasons I like to take either age-old cautionary phrases or things that you've heard in books, films, kind of these classic lines, and then repurposing them, inverting them, or like redefining them in some way is because I sort of love the combination
コンビネー
of
ション
modern vernacular and sort of old world or classic timeless speak. So in the song The Fate of Ophelia, there's a lot of sort of modern terminology and speak and kind of common phrases from the way that we talk now. But there's also like in the bridge, there's a line from Hamlet that I repurposed. Locked inside my memory and only you possess the key. I really gravitate towards juxtaposition and polarity in a line, right? So, hey, what could you possibly get for the girl who has everything and nothing all at once? Our coming of age has come and gone. You take one word that's at the beginning of the phrase and then you take its opposite. Because ultimately, like, we are all filled with polarity, hypocrisy, these kind of battling features and factors that make up our jagged personalities. I have my phone and I have this file where I'll just be like, I know I like
よし
that. I know I like
今
that.
日はここまでですね。ありがとうございました。キリン2の3スタートしましたね。キリン2の3です。ご視聴いただきありがとうございました。チャンネル登録と高評価もよろしくお願いします。